Hello everyone, I'm Elian. Today I'll tell you the story of why it's never too late to learn something. Maybe you've asked yourself this question before. Am I too old to start again? Have I waited too long to try this? Is it even worth it anymore? And maybe, quietly, painfully, you answered with a kind of silence, a pause, a small, tired, maybe. But I want to offer you something gentler than that voice of doubt, because the truth is, it's never too late to learn something that calls to you. Never too late to grow, to begin again, or to become more of who you're meant to be. Sometimes life moves so fast that we feel like we've missed the train. We look around and think, they already know how. They're younger. They started earlier. And then we shrink ourselves into the idea that we've already failed just because our path didn't begin the same way. But the story you're telling yourself, that it's too late, is just a story. And like any story, it can be rewritten. So today, let's slow things down. Let's talk about the quiet, powerful truth that you can learn at any age, in any season of life. And not just learn facts or skills, but learn how to trust yourself again. Learn how to open your heart again, and learn how to hope. This isn't just about learning English. It's about learning anything that speaks to your soul. A new language, a new instrument, a new way of being in the world. Before we begin, I just want to say, if you find value in these conversations, if you feel seen, heard, or supported here, take a second to like this video and subscribe, but only if it feels true for you. And hey, let me know in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it for you right now? I love seeing how far this small circle of kindness reaches. Now, let's begin. Sometimes, what holds us back isn't a lack of skill, it's a belief. We believe that learning belongs to the young, that it has a time limit, that it's for people with energy, time, money, or confidence. And that belief quietly locks the door on our curiosity. But here's what I believe, and what I've seen in over 20 years of teaching. Learning is a fire that never goes out, even when life gets heavy, even when your past feels messy, even when you're afraid. I've had students who were in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, learning English for the very first time. I've seen them laugh at their mistakes, ask the boldest questions, and light up when they finally understood something that had once felt impossible. They didn't start late. They started when they were ready, and maybe that's the only timing that matters. There's a quiet kind of joy that comes from learning something new as an adult. You're not doing it because someone told you to. You're doing it because something inside you whispered, I want this. And that whisper, that soft inner desire to learn, to grow, to stretch beyond what you know, that's one of the most alive parts of you. So if you've been waiting for permission to begin, here it is. Not from me, but from your own life, because every day you're still here is a chance to become something more. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're not too late. You're right on time, and if all you can do today is take one small step, listening to this podcast, writing one sentence, asking one question, that's enough. That's already learning. Don't underestimate the power of showing up, even when you feel unsure. Learning isn't about speed, it's about presence. It's about staying curious even when you're tired. It's about opening your heart to something new, even if it scares you. And the beautiful thing is, the more you learn, the more your world opens. So let's walk this road together. Let's talk about what makes learning hard and what makes it deeply human. Let's explore how starting again can heal parts of you that felt forgotten. because it's not just about facts or grammar or rules. It's about waking up parts of your soul that still want to bloom. And that is always worth it. Time tries to tell you. Time can be a little bit tricky. It wears this serious suit. It carries a clipboard. It keeps a strict schedule. And sometimes it whispers things like, "You missed your chance. It's too late now. You should have done this years ago." And because time sounds so official, so logical, we believe it. But let me ask you something gently. What if those voices aren't really coming from time? What if they're coming from fear? The fear of failing, the fear of starting from zero, the fear of being judged, or even scarier, the fear that we might succeed and life might change. See, time doesn't actually care how old you are when you start something, but fear does. Fear wants you to believe that the best parts of life already passed you by. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still listening, still curious. If you're listening to this right now, you haven't run out of time. You're in it, right in the middle of it. Your story is still unfolding, but fear loves to point backward. It shows you other people's timelines, their success, their head start, and then it says, "See, you're too far behind, don't even try." That voice doesn't belong to your future. It belongs to an old chapter, one that doesn't know who you are now, because the person you are now has changed. You've lived, you've lost, you've grown, you've survived days you thought would break you. And that strength, that quiet wisdom, that makes you an amazing learner. In fact, older learners often bring something powerful to the table. Patience, humility, life experience. A real reason to learn, not just pressure to perform. Let me give you a small example. I once had a student, let's call her Rosa. She was in her late 50s when she came to her first English class. At first, she barely spoke. She sat near the back. Her hands shook when we practiced saying our names out loud. But every week Rosa showed up, and one day, during a group activity, she said something simple and beautiful. "I speak little, but I speak from my heart." The class went quiet, and then they clapped, not because her grammar was perfect, but because she spoke with courage. After that, she started smiling more. She asked more questions, and over time her English and her confidence bloomed. You see, Rosa didn't lose time. She claimed it. She didn't wait to feel ready. She moved through the fear, and maybe that's what learning really is. Choosing hope, even when fear is louder. So if you hear that voice, the one that says, "You're too old, you're too slow, you're not smart enough," I want you to pause, take a breath, and say gently, "That's not the truth. That's just fear talking." Then take one small step anyway, because it's not time that's stopping you. It's the belief that you can't begin again, and beliefs can be changed, just like habits, just like skills, just like language. Maybe today is the day you choose a different belief. Maybe today is the day you say, "I'm not too late. I'm right on time for me." And when you start learning from that place, the whole journey feels different. It's not a race. It's not a test. It's an invitation to come back to yourself, to remember that growing is something your heart already knows how to do. All you have to do is say yes. There's something quiet and powerful about starting from zero, something most people overlook. Because being a beginner, it's not about being behind. It's about being open. Think about a child learning how to walk. They fall, they try again, they fall again. No one says, "You're bad at walking." We smile, we cheer, we say, You're learning. But as adults, we forget this kindness. We expect ourselves to be good right away. We're embarrassed to make mistakes. We say things like, "I'm not talented. I'll never get it. This is too hard." But what if being a beginner is exactly where the beauty is? Let me share something you might not know. Our brains are built for learning. Even as adults, we grow new connections when we try something unfamiliar. We become more flexible, more alive. Being a beginner wakes us up, and not just mentally, emotionally too. Because when we let go of perfection, something soft returns. Curiosity, play, a sense of wonder. We start to see learning as a gift, not a burden. We stop thinking, "I should know this," and start asking, "What can I discover today?" There's a freedom in not knowing everything. It means you get to explore, you get to ask questions, you get to laugh at your mistakes, you get to grow. And honestly, some of the most inspiring people I know are beginners. They're not afraid to raise their hand. They don't pretend to be experts. They show up with open hearts and say, "I want to learn." And in that moment, they're already succeeding. Not because they know everything, but because they're not hiding anymore. Maybe no one told you this before, so let me say it now. You don't have to be perfect to be proud of yourself. You don't have to be fast to be moving forward. You don't have to know everything to belong in the room. You belong here, even as a beginner. Actually, especially as a beginner, because beginners see things with fresh eyes. They remind the rest of us how powerful starting can be. And when you let yourself be a beginner, you also give others permission to do the same. That's how courage grows, quietly, together. You might be wondering, but what if I try and I'm still bad at it? Well, maybe that's okay, because sometimes the goal isn't to be good, it's to feel alive, to feel your brain working, to feel your heart opening, to feel like you're becoming something new. Maybe that's the real success, not fluency, not mastery, but movement. And that movement, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, is worth celebrating. Here's something I say a lot in class. Mistakes mean you're trying. Silence means you're scared. Speak even if it shakes, because every time you try, your confidence grows. And slowly those small steps become a path back to curiosity, back to confidence, back to you. So here's a gentle reminder. Let yourself be new at something. Let yourself be clumsy, unsure, slow. That's not weakness. That's growth. And that beginner inside you, they're braver than you think. Sometimes we think of learning as something external, something we can measure, like test scores, certificates, progress charts. But the truth is, some of the most important changes that happen when we learn can't be seen. They happen inside us. Think about the first time you learned how to say something in English and someone understood you. That feeling of being heard, of expressing yourself, is more than language. It's dignity, it's confidence, it's a kind of soft power. Learning something new doesn't just give you skills, it gives you evidence that you can grow. And when you believe you can grow, your entire sense of self begins to shift. You begin to think, if I can do this, maybe I can try something else too. And suddenly, you're not stuck anymore, you're moving, even if no one else sees it yet. Let me ask you a quiet question. When was the last time you felt proud of yourself? Not because someone praised you, not because you were perfect, but because you showed up for yourself, even when it was hard. That's what learning does. It teaches you how to show up again and again with patience and care. And over time, that practice becomes part of you. It becomes your new identity. You stop saying, "I'm not good at this," and you start saying, I'm still learning, but I'm getting better. And that shift, that small, powerful shift in your words, that's growth from the inside, because the way we speak to ourselves matters. When you learn, you're not just gaining knowledge, you're rewriting your inner story. You're becoming the kind of person who tries, who trusts, who hopes, and maybe most importantly, the kind of person who forgives themselves when they fall. Learning is never a straight line. It's full of twists, doubts, and pauses, but every time you get up again, your roots grow deeper. Let me tell you what I've noticed over the years. Students who grow the most aren't the ones who move fastest. They're the ones who keep going, even when it feels slow. They're the ones who pause, take a deep breath, and say, I didn't get it today, but I'll try again tomorrow. That kind of strength, quiet, consistent, kind, is what real transformation looks like. And the beautiful thing, once you start seeing yourself differently, the world starts seeing you differently too. You begin to carry yourself with more certainty. You begin to take up space. You begin to believe you deserve to learn, to grow, to dream. And you do. You always have. So don't worry if you can't measure your progress yet. Don't worry if no one claps for you right now. Learning is like planting a seed. For a long time, nothing seems to change. But deep under the surface, something is taking root. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll look back and say, wow, I'm not the same person I was when I started. And you'll be right, because real learning isn't just about what you know. It's about who you're becoming. So be gentle with yourself. Keep showing up. Keep listening, reading, asking, trying. Even when it feels small, even when it feels slow, because inside you, something strong and beautiful is growing. I want to share something personal with you, because even after many years of teaching, I've also had moments when I thought, maybe this is it, maybe I've already done all I can. It happened a few years ago. I was going through a difficult season, emotionally, professionally, spiritually. Teaching, which had always brought me joy, started to feel heavy, like I was repeating the same words every day without much meaning. I remember sitting at my kitchen table one evening. The house was quiet, my tea had gone cold, and I just felt lost. Not the kind of lost where you don't know where you are, but the kind of lost where you forget who you are. That night, I opened my laptop without knowing why. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, but somehow I ended up on a website about storytelling in education, about how personal stories can change how students learn. I read one article, then another, and another. Something in me started to flicker, like a tiny candle. I remembered that I used to love stories, not just telling them, listening to them, living them. And right there in the middle of my tiredness, something whispered, what if you learn something new? What if you try again? So I signed up for an online course about narrative teaching, something completely different from the grammar drills and textbooks I'd used for years. I was nervous. I felt out of place. There were younger teachers in the course, tech-savvy, full of energy. And here I was, 20 years into my career, starting from zero again. But the funny thing is, that beginner feeling, it humbled me. It softened me. It reminded me what my students must feel like every time they speak in English. I struggled, I made mistakes, I asked a lot of questions, and slowly I grew. That one course opened a new path, one that led to creating this podcast. A space where learning English isn't just about grammar, it's about being human together. So when I say, it's never too late to learn, I don't mean that as a slogan, I mean it from experience. I've lived it, and maybe you're standing in that same place I once was, feeling stuck, A little tired, unsure what's next? If so, let me gently remind you, you're allowed to begin again. You're allowed to learn something new, even if it scares you, even if you think you should already know it. You're allowed to become a student again. Not because you're not enough, but because you are enough. Your desire to grow, that's not failure, that's courage. I often say that starting again is not the same as starting over. When you start again, you're bringing everything you've lived. Your history, your strength, your failures, your hope. You're not behind. You're loaded with wisdom. You're not too old. You're ready. So if there's something you've been wanting to learn, a language, a song, a skill, a new way of living, let this be your gentle nudge. You don't have to be confident. You just have to be curious, because that curiosity, it's where the light comes in. And the day I followed that small light, even when I felt lost, was the day I found a new beginning. Maybe today is your day too. You might not think gratitude has much to do with learning, but it does. Gratitude is what turns learning into something gentle. It takes away the pressure and replaces it with presence. Let me explain. So often when we try to learn something new, we come from a place of not enough. I'm not smart enough. I didn't start early enough. I don't speak well enough. And when we believe those things, learning feels like punishment, like we're trying to fix ourselves. But what if we flipped the script? What if we said, I'm grateful I get to learn this. I'm grateful I still have the chance to grow. I'm grateful for the small progress I made today. Gratitude makes learning lighter. It helps you focus on what you can do, not what you can't. It shifts the energy from stress to softness. Because let's be honest, learning is hard sometimes. You make mistakes, you forget things, you feel slow, and when that happens, the mind can become critical. This is useless. You're failing. You'll never get it. But gratitude steps in with a quieter voice and says, look how far you've come. Remember when this was even harder? You're doing something brave. Even just saying thank you to yourself can be powerful. And what's true is this: if you're learning, you're growing. If you're growing, you're alive. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for trying again. Thank you for not giving up, even when no one's watching. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything's easy. It just means you're choosing to focus on what's true, not what fear says. And if you're alive, there's still more beauty waiting for you. Let me offer a small idea. At the end of each day, take 1 minute to ask yourself, what did I learn today? It doesn't have to be big. Maybe you learned a new word. Maybe you practiced a difficult sound. Maybe you didn't give up, even when you felt shy. Write it down, say it out loud, whisper it to yourself, because those small moments, they matter more than you think. Learning is made up of little wins, and the more you notice them, the more they grow. One of my students once told me, Elian, I don't feel like I'm improving. So I asked her, what did you understand this week that you didn't understand last month? She thought for a moment and said, everything. We both laughed. Sometimes we don't see our own growth because we're too close to it. That's where gratitude comes in. It helps you zoom out. It reminds you that just being in the process is already powerful. You could have quit, but you didn't. You could have stayed silent, but you spoke. You could have ignored your desire to learn, but here you are. That's not small. That's extraordinary. Gratitude lets you celebrate the journey, not just the results. Because if you only wait to feel proud once you're fluent or finished, you'll miss all the beautiful moments along the way. The first time you understood a joke, the first time you ordered food in English, the first time someone said, Your English is really good. All of that counts. Every smile, every word, every second of effort. You're building something, not just in your brain, but in your life. And the more you thank yourself for that effort, the stronger your motivation becomes. So let's not rush through learning. Let's notice it. Let's honor it. Because every time you say thank you to yourself, to your teachers, to the process, you create space for joy. And joy is what keeps you coming back. Even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even when you doubt yourself, gratitude turns learning into a gift. Not something you have to do, but something you get to do. And that makes all the difference. We usually think of learning as a skill, a task, or something we're supposed to do. But what if I told you that every time you learn something new, even just one word, you're making a quiet promise to yourself. You're saying, I believe there's still something good ahead. I believe in the possibility of change. I believe I can grow into someone I haven't met yet. That's not just learning, that's hope. And hope is a radical, beautiful thing, because hope means choosing to move, even when you're unsure where the road leads. It means trusting that your effort matters. It means deciding that the future is still open, and maybe that's the bravest thing you can do. See, when you begin learning again, especially later in life, it's not because someone forced you. It's because you still care. You still dream. You still want to connect, to understand, to participate. You're not giving up on yourself. And in a world that often tries to convince us to settle, that's revolutionary. Sometimes people say, why bother? And my answer is always the same, because every small effort to grow is a seed of hope. And hope is what heals. It heals the parts of you that were told you're too late. It quiets the voices that said, this is all there is. It reminds you that your life is still unfolding, and you're allowed to shape it. I've seen this again and again. A retired man learning how to write his first email. A young mother picking up a textbook after years of raising children. A factory worker watching YouTube videos at night to improve her English. They didn't do it for fame or perfection. They did it because something inside them whispered, I want more. And I want you to hear this clearly and kindly. That whisper is enough. That quiet desire to learn, to grow, to believe again. That's what will carry you forward. Because every step you take in learning is a step toward believing in life again. And no, you might not feel hope every day. You might feel tired, doubtful, stuck. That's okay. Hope isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the decision to try again tomorrow. And that's enough. There's a quote I carry with me, not printed, but in my heart. Even the smallest light is still light. Your efforts matter. Your learning matters. Your heart, open, curious, imperfect, matters. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time, because this is your time. So as we come to the end of this episode, I hope you carry this with you. Learning is not just a task. It's a form of love for your future self, for your possibilities, for your hope. If you've made it here, thank you. Thank you for giving me your time, your attention, and your trust. Maybe today's episode stirred something in you. Maybe it reminded you of something you once loved. Or maybe it helped you believe, even just a little, that it's not too late to try again. If that's true, then this episode did its job. So take a moment wherever you are to thank yourself for listening, for learning, for hoping, because you're doing something beautiful. You're saying yes, not just to English, but to life. If this podcast has helped you, please like it, subscribe, or share it with someone who might need a little encouragement too. And as always, I'd love to know. Where are you listening from? What time is it there? Drop a comment. Say hi. Let's keep this global circle of gentle learners alive. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and remember, you're not too late. You're right on time. Let me know if you'd like the full text compiled, formatted, or translated.